Look at this passage. Paul and Timothy's grandmother have a way of midwifing Timothy into the newness of a more faithful living. And so we see Spirit playing lead, but Timothy's grandmothers and the elders do an important kind of secondary and accompanying sort of work. In the words of Cornel West, we are who we are because somebody loves us. Yes. Let me say that one more time. We are who we are because someone loved us. We are who we are because Coretta and Martin decided to love us. We are who we are because Ella Jo Baker and Septima Clark decided to love us. We are who we are because black folk and Jewish folk decided to work together in the civil rights movement. We are who we are because black folk and Jewish folk and same-gender loving folk decided to work together in the Niagara Falls movement, giving us the NAACP. We are who we are because someone loves us. And so when we consider this idea of legacy running through this motif of the scriptures, we recognize that it's not just something from long ago, but it's something that shapes, it's something that situates us right here where we are right now. This doesn't necessarily mean that elders are uniformly right, but it does mean that the elders give us a sense of wisdom, give us a sense of prudence, give us a sense of possibilities, give us a sense of power, give us a sense of peace, give us a sense of prudence, give us a sense of poise that we can use to do the work which our times urgently call us to do. Somebody say legacy.
Legacy. And as we think about the power of legacy, we must be careful that we leave the right things behind. Somebody say the right thing. Too often we get so fixated on the here and now that we leave nothing sustainable for our loved ones coming behind us. And some of you have had a hard time thinking about legacy tonight because the generations before you might have actually made life harder for you. We don't always talk about that, but every now and again we got to go back and examine our own family trees. Every now and again we got to be honest with grandmama and them and big mama and them and say, tell me the truth about what happened there. There's this thing that we don't talk about. For generations you said we couldn't talk about it. And so I don't know what to do with this, but I know there's something here. And y'all, if we ever going to get free for real, we got to have those conversations. We got to have those moments where we trace our history and our own family trees back to the mistakes, back to the moments where if we had known then what we knew now, we wouldn't have covered it up. If we had known then what we knew now, we wouldn't have made that decision. If we had known then what we had known now, we wouldn't have done that, because if we don't take the time to have those conversations, then we're setting up the generations behind us to have a legacy of harm, to have a legacy of distrust, to have a legacy of secrecy, to have a legacy of calamity. And so y'all, we all up in here looking real good tonight, but all of us, every family has some secrets. Every family has some stories that when you tried to ask, your grandmama looked at you in that way that you never asked again. But y'all, we gotta muster up some courage tonight. It's 2019. We gotta have the hard conversations, because there's power that comes with facing the truth of who we are. I'm gonna say that again. There's power that comes with facing the truth of who we are. None of us are perfect, but we gotta get honest. And so as we talk about legacy, we gotta recover our truth. We have to recover our humanity. We have to recover our frailties. And when we do that, we also recover new possibilities.
Somebody said new possibilities.
New possibilities.
When we recover those new possibilities, it helps us to not only extend the legacy that we have received, but to push forward a legacy for those who are coming behind us. And so a part of what this means is that there's both a personal as well as a public dimension to our legacy of faith, to our legacy of service, to our legacy of health, to our legacy of doing good works that add meaning, that add significance to the lives of those who are looking to us to build legacy. You know, when we think about what legacy means in this month, what we mean when we strip down the motif to its essentials is that you cannot have a Black Lives Matter movement if you don't first have a Black arts movement. You can't have a Black Lives Matter movement if you don't first have a Black Power movement. You can't have a Black Lives Matter movement if you don't first have a Civil Rights movement. You can't have a Civil Rights movement if you don't first have people coming together to start the National Council of Negro Women. If you don't have folks coming together to start independent Black denominations, coming together to start AKAs and Deltas and Alphas and, I don't want to split the room. The entire Pan-Hellenic Council. When we think about the tradition, right, the legacy of Jack and Jill and Links and all of the civil society associations that help to make Black folks who we are, that's a legacy. Am I telling the truth? Yes. It is legacy that enables us to have the cultural and political and theological base of power that enables us to do what we need to do so our kids can get to where our kids want to go. Amen? Amen. When we talk about legacy, we're talking about making the concrete steps, the concrete decisions, the concrete pouring into our values that enables us to make sure that as we move towards these next 2 years, that we can see more civility than what we've seen in these past few years. Right. Am I speaking in nuanced enough language? That we can see more compassion than what we've seen in these past few years. We're talking about legacy. That we can see more collaboration, that we can see more solidarity, that we can see more sweetness, more serenity. Legacy is the word of the hour. And